Oh, hey, welcome to this week's lesson. We are going to talk about developing none other than the drum roll, the iconic drum roll. Now, when somebody first hears that you're a drummer or you're starting to become a drummer, you're taking drum lessons, one of the first things they probably think in their mind, whether they say it out loud or not, is, can you do a drum roll? And as a student, you're probably thinking, when do I get to do the drum roll? Well, today we're going to start working on that technique. So if you have not already seen the video about match grip and about developing rebound or legato strokes, check that video up here. That'd be a very good idea for you to go ahead and start watching that, because that sets you up with the right foundation to start working on your roll technique. And then we've also done a video so far about staccato or downstrokes. I'll put a link to that up there as well, because that is another one that you should probably watch before we get into doing stuff like developing roll technique. Now, at the heart of rolls, rolls is a sort of an umbrella term covering a few things. So there are buzz rolls and there are open double stroke rolls. And in the double stroke category, there are finger doubles and what I call fulcrum doubles. So doubles that you produce with slightly different variations in technique. For the purposes of this particular video, we're going to focus on two things. We're going to get into how to develop a buzz roll, and we're going to then see how that helps us morph into developing what I call a fulcrum double roll, or a double stroke roll, sort of a conventional double stroke roll, using primarily the fulcrum in the grip. So let's get into that and see how that works. So the first thing we have to do is understand how the bounce is going to work. And again, like the previous videos, I'm still going to focus on match grip in this case. Traditional grip is coming, but I want to make sure that before I even get into that, I've got a nice foundation of material for match grip players first, because it's important to have that foundation before you try to go into something more complicated like traditional grip. All right, so having said that, let's take a look at what we got to do. So one of the things I talk about with the fulcrum in the first video about rebounds and match grip and that sort of thing is that sometimes we need to be able to let the stick breathe in the back of the hand. And basically what that means is we allow the stick to come away from the palm, but we keep the fingers on the stick. Now when we start talking about buzz rolls or fulcrum double type double strokes, that actually doesn't entirely hold true anymore. We have to actually let the stick breathe not only between the stick and the palm, but we also have to take these back fingers off the stick to allow the stick to be able to resonate in the hand a little bit better. Otherwise, our roll sound is going to be choked. And you'll see what I mean as we go along here. So the exercise that we get started on buzz rolls, and by the way, there is a temptation I've seen in many kids, is to sort of gloss over buzz rolls and go as quickly as they can to the double stroke variety of roll. And while the double stroke does get most of the glory in terms of roll, the buzz is also very important and should not be overlooked. So make sure you do spend a reasonable amount of time working on your buzz rolls. To get a really good buzz roll sound actually takes a lot of practice. So it's not something super simple that you will solve in a matter of a week. So I mean, I'm still, after all these years, never quite satisfied with the level of quality that I'm getting out of my buzz rolls, and I always think I could do a little bit better. And you know, it's a matter of prioritizing that time to try to get that. And if the better your buzz rolls sound, by the way, it very likely would lead to the more quality of sound you're going to produce when you do open double strokes with the fulcrum. So let's get into the buzz roll part. So the first thing we have to do is we get into the grip that we talked about in the first video, right? And make sure we're not too far forward or too far back on the stick. And we're just going to focus on one hand right now. So we're going to focus on the right hand, and we want to get a full stroke in this first stroke, but we don't want to choke the stick in the back. So we are purposely going to just kind of, for the moment here, hold the stick with mostly the index and the thumb. The other fingers are going to be wrapped around, but not grasping the stick. That's important. I don't want them to stick out like this, right? I see this all the time. This is definitely not what you want to do. You want to keep them close, ready to re-engage the stick as quickly and efficiently as possible. So we're going to take these fingers off, let the stick breathe a little bit here, not much more than about 1/2 inch, and a little bit under or the palm there, so between the fingers and the palm. So the stick is going to be riding freely here, controlled just by the index and the thumb. So what we're going to do is drive the stick, and we're not going into the drum head with that first stroke, and we are going to sort of pull the index into the stroke as we press into the drum head, and we want to get a nice sort of medium long sort of bounce, right? And I'll show you what I mean. This is basically what we're going to try to do. Right? So notice how you can hear the first 3 or 4 bounces, da 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 da, and then it kind of compresses. Then they're less easy to sort of separate audibly. Right? That's basically what we want. So if you are tending to choke too much in the back of the hand, or you're grasping the stick all the way, so if you're contacting all the way through like this, or if I'm driving too hard with the index finger, because this will also create the same effect, you will get a much shorter sound. So instead of this, you'll get more of this. Right, which is kind of a stutter or a press stroke. There are times when we want press strokes, right? But this is not one of them. We're trying to develop a good buzz roll sound. All right, so we want the nice long bounce. Now we don't want to be so relaxed in the downstroke with the fulcrum that you end up getting something like this. Right? That's not really going to achieve anything. It's too passive. We need a little bit more aggressive input from the fulcrum. We just need to draw a balance between being too aggressive, where we would get the choky short buzz, versus the longer buzz, right? That's the one we want. Once you've got a few of those under your belt in one hand, set up the other hand, you know, get your thumb on the flag or on the H somewhere right in that little 1-inch zone, right? And do it with your other hand. Make sure you're not just dropping the stroke from here and trying to get it. You won't have enough momentum in the stick to really open up that first half of the buzz. So get a full stroke behind it. Feel a little bit of drive from the fingertip of the index finger that should be contacting the stick, right? No drooping index fingers here. That will not help you. And get that nice sort of medium length buzz. And once you've got some of those under your belt on the other hand now, then you start interchanging them, alternating. So like this. All right? And once this is going pretty consistently, we can slowly start speeding up. And the operative word here is slowly. Do not be in a hurry. All right? And by speeding up, I only mean speeding up the interval between each stroke, not speeding up the buzz itself. And we keep accelerating very slowly. Till about there. Now, if I took away the buzz stroke, look how fast my hands are moving. Right? That's a pretty slow set of strokes, right? I'm not doing this and then putting a buzz on top of it. I'm not doing that. You want to practice getting a nice smooth buzz with that little bit of a slower stroke versus the aggressive one, because you hear a lot more of the individual attacks, and also because you will tend to tighten up the fulcrums a lot more. So it's better to develop this in this sort of medium stroke to slow stroke range, where we're basically in this tempo. Right? You could go a little faster. Right? What we don't want to hear is this. Right? If you can really clearly discern each attack aggressively in that stream of buzz noise there, that buzz roll, that's basically telling you your fulcrums are too tight, or you're driving the index finger too hard into the stroke. One of those two things is happening, or maybe both, because that is often the case as well. All right, so let's say we've got a nice smooth buzz here. Right, going. Now, once we have had a chance to sort of live with that for a little while, and again, don't be in a hurry, spend plenty of time on that, we can now take that basic stroke that we've developed, that sort of medium length buzz sound, and we're going to truncate that so that we lift the stick back off the head just as soon as you've done the first two strokes, or the first two bounces. So it sounds like this. Right? Da-da. Now notice it's not right? So it's not like this. See, it's almost hard to even hear both notes. That's because I am squeezing too much with the thumb and maybe also driving a little too heavy with the index finger. So again, we also don't want to drop the stroke in like this because we don't have enough momentum of the stick to really rebound that first note and widen out those first two. So we want to make sure we're, again, stroking with at least a 9 to 12 inch stroke to start, right? And we clearly hear da-da, right? We get that going in one hand. If you occasionally get, whoops, I got an extra note, right? I got 3 in there, da-da-da. If you occasionally get 3 in there, keep working at it. And you want to try and get to where you're getting at least 99.9% of the double and not the triple, and eventually 100% of the double, right? But for now, as we're developing this, if you just rarely occasionally get a 3 in there, that's okay. Just keep working because you're building muscle memory. If you're doing it right, way more than you're doing it wrong, you are building that muscle memory, and that's the name of the game. So then we do the same thing in the left hand. Again, get that full 9 to 12 inch stroke, and just enough index finger applied with a relaxed thumb. We get a nice open da-da, da-da, right? And we do the same thing that we did with the buzz roll. We put them together and alternate them. Right? Now don't start doing this until the vast majority of your repetitions are exactly what you want. If you're getting that triple or more, triple stroke or more result more often, or even 50% of the time, that's not enough right. You need to get it right at least 95% of the time before you start putting them together, right? Otherwise, we're going to create a situation where we're kind of confusing muscle memory. We're not quite sure, your muscles aren't quite sure which way should be the right way, right? And you'll struggle with it longer. So make sure that you are getting a high success rate on the double before you start putting them together. And then we do the accelerando just like we did with the buzz strokes. It would look like this. Nice, slow accelerando. Notice the rhythm is not pristine here, right? It's choke rhythm, but I've got fulcrum doubles. And that's what I'm trying to do. And somewhere around here, if I'm relaxed enough, I've got a nice even set of sort of like 16 or it could be 30-second notes depending on your tempo, right? But you have that nice digga-digga-digga-digga-digga sound. Right? The individual hand motion is going to be this, right? And then I pull off in the back. I drive just a little bit with the index fingers, keeping the thumbs relaxed, and I get double stroke, right? And then you can go faster. Now I want you to notice what's going on with my arm here, right? If I'm playing this open and wide, kind of high, slow, you don't see the elbow and the forearm moving very much. It's almost exclusively a wrist stroke. But watch what happens. Pay attention to my arm and my elbow in particular, because you'll really see the motion manifest in the elbow motion when I start going faster. You'll also notice the height come down. Right? So faster roll equals more arm in the technique. And the reason we put arm into that technique is because it helps us drive the tempo forward or maintain the tempo if we're playing something at a fast pace anyway. And while doing so, it takes the burden off the wrist to do that all by itself. And when we can remove that extra burden from the wrist, it allows the hand to stay relaxed and keeps our doubles sounding nice and open. We're producing a nice quality sound out of that open double stroke roll. If I try to do that fast with just the wrist motion like this, right, I'm gonna start making mistakes because I get a lot of tension and just over gripping the stick in the fulcrum. I'm really squeezing down the diddle and the result will not be ideal, right? So we wanna keep the hands relaxed as much as the rhythm will allow us to do, and the arms are a key component when we go faster in making sure that happens for our roll strokes, all right? Before we go, I'm going to give you a basic exercise. This is called rolls, and I will put a link to this in the description below, and you can go print it off and you can go get a PDF and play along. This is also sometimes called Hugga-Dugga-Burr. I guarantee you across the country there are people who know exactly what I'm talking about that I have never met. This is not my made-up term, but it's a simple rolls exercise, and we're basically taking what we call a 16th note check pattern, and then we are just tacking on the double stroke. So we're literally keeping the fingers on and then the fingers off. And this is primarily a downstroke sort of orientation here. So we're kind of playing the check pattern with a downstroke versus this, which is far more of a rebound stroke, right? So the check pattern is going to be a downstroke in most cases for this kind of thing. And then when we get to the roll, we drop the fingers, we drive with the indexes a little bit, keeping the thumb relaxed. We produce that 30-second note rhythm, right? Think of it as a rhythm, more so than just a double stroke, because mindset matters here. So think of it as a rhythm. And then we create that roll, check pattern, kind of alternating thing, right? And so it looks like this. All right, two things to note there on this exercise. All of the strokes should be uniform height. I don't want to play the roll bigger or lower than the 16th note check pattern, and I don't reach for the release. It should just be a release that is a continuation of the last stroke with a single instead of a double. So, again, looks like this. No accents. All right, and that is known as rolls or hugga-dugga-burr if you prefer. Hey, it rhymes. Okay, anyway, you can go check that out. The PDF is in the link below, and feel free to play along with me. I'll do it one more time. Let's say you've got the PDF. I don't know, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but I'll count it off. We'll play it one more time. I'll do it with traditional, just for my own amusement. And that's all there is to it. All right, might take you a little bit of time to get it, but you'll get it. Make sure you're kind of putting those things on your checklist that you need to watch for to keep your technique in check and doing what you wanted to do. So we're building that good, desirable muscle memory as we go. All right, thanks for joining me in this lesson, and there is more to come. I will see you in the next one, hopefully. Consider subscribing if you're finding value in this, and give us a like if you so desire. If not, go ahead and give us a thumbs down. Click it twice if you want to. That'd be fine. All right. Have a good one.